At Christmas, my niece pointed at my son and said, "Grandma says you're the maid's kid." Everyone laughed. My sister snorted wine through her nose. My brother-in-law high-fived Natalie like she'd just told the joke of the year. Natalie grinned wider. Grandma says he doesn't belong here because his dad was probably the pool guy. My son Eli was 7 years old. He looked up at me with tears forming and asked, "Mom, what does that mean?" I grabbed our coats. My mother finally spoke up. "Oh, Stacy, don't be so sensitive. Kids say silly things." I turned to face her. "Eli heard you practicing that line with Natalie yesterday through the baby monitor. I left here last week." The room went silent. My dad's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. I continued, "I heard you tell her it would be hilarious to say it in front of everyone, that I needed to be humbled." My sister's face went red. Natalie looked confused, now instead of proud. My brother-in-law tried to defuse things. "Come on, we were just joking around." Aaron would have laughed. "That was the wrong thing to say. Aaron, my late husband, would have thrown every single one of you out of his house for saying that about his son." We left without another word. I drove to my late husband's parents' house across town. They'd been begging to see Eli for months, but my mom always convinced me they were too old and fragile to handle a young kid. When Margaret opened the door and saw us both crying, she pulled us inside immediately. Her husband Frank was decorating their small tree. After I explained everything, Margaret didn't say a word, just walked to Frank's office. She came back with a folder and her phone. She called my mother on speaker. "Jean, this is Margaret, Aaron's mother. I'm looking at the college fund. You told Stacy didn't exist, the one with $67,000 that you've been pulling from for the past 2 years." My stomach dropped. "What?" Margaret kept going. "I have bank statements showing transfers to your account, Rachel's account, even payments to Natalie's private school, all from money Aaron's father left specifically for Eli's education." My mother started stammering. "That's not, we were just borrowing." "Borrowing requires permission," Margaret said coldly. "My lawyer will contact you Monday morning. You have 72 hours to return every cent or I'm pressing charges for theft and fraud." She hung up. Then she handed me the folder. "This is everything Aaron wanted Eli to have. Frank and I have been trying to give this to you for 2 years, but your mother kept saying you were too emotional to handle financial decisions. Inside were account statements, property deeds, even a trust fund I never knew existed." My phone started buzzing immediately. My sister, "Did Margaret just threaten Mom with jail?" "My dad, we need to talk about this reasonably. We're family." "My mom, you're overreacting. We were going to pay it back." I blocked all of them. Margaret wasn't done though. She pulled out another document. "This is the deed to a small condo Aaron bought before he passed. He wanted you and Eli to have it, but your mother told us you'd already found your own place and didn't need it." I started crying again. Margaret squeezed my hand. "We tried to reach you so many times, but Gina always had an excuse for why you were too busy or too fragile." Frank finally spoke up. "We're not fragile, sweetie. We're just old. There's a difference." By Monday, my mom's lawyer called Margaret begging for a payment plan. Margaret said no, full amount or police involvement. By Wednesday, my parents took out a second mortgage on their house to cover it. By Friday, the $67,000 was back in Eli's account with interest and penalties. My sister called from a burner phone. "You're really going to let them lose their house over this?" I replied, "They stole from their grandson and made him think he wasn't family." Then I blocked that number too. 2 weeks later, Margaret and Frank legally filed for grandparent visitation rights to make sure my parents couldn't block them again. The court approved it immediately when they showed the judge the stolen funds evidence. Last Sunday, Eli asked if we could have Christmas at Grandma Margaret's house this year. I said yes. We've been there every weekend since. Frank taught Eli how to build birdhouses. Margaret makes his favorite cookies and actually listens when he talks about dinosaurs. This morning, my mother left a voicemail. "Natalie's been having nightmares about what she said. She feels terrible. Maybe you could bring Eli by so she can apologize." I deleted it without responding because Natalie didn't come up with that line on her own, and my son doesn't owe anyone forgiveness just to make them feel better about their own cruelty. Yesterday, Eli told Margaret she's his favorite grandma. She cried happy tears. My mother would have hated hearing that, which honestly makes it even better.